Welcome back to the Woodworking Bible series. In this episode, we'll be discussing 4 basic woodworking techniques such as measuring, cutting, sanding and finishing. Measuring is a crucial step in any woodworking project, as accurate measurements are necessary for proper cuts and a successful final product. Using a high-quality tape measure is important, as it will ensure that measurements are precise and accurate. Additionally, it's a good practice to double-check measurements to confirm they are correct before making cuts. This helps to prevent mistakes and wasted materials. So, follow the old adage to measure twice and cut once. Tip: always use the same tape measure throughout your project, as different manufacturers' tape measures may vary in design and may cause unwanted variances in your measurements. Measuring tools like a square, a bevel gauge, and a marking gauge are essential for making accurate marks on a workpiece in woodworking projects. A square is a tool used to ensure that cuts are square, or at a 90-degree angle. It can also be used to check for squareness in a piece of wood or to mark a line at a 90-degree angle. Note: it's important to use an accurate square to make sure that your cuts are square and that your project fits together properly. A bevel gauge, also known as a sliding bevel, is a tool used to measure and transfer angles. It's useful for marking and cutting angles that are not at a 90-degree angle, such as for creating angled cuts or joints. Note: it's important to use an accurate bevel gauge to ensure that the angles you mark and cut are precise. A marking gauge, also known as a mortise gauge, is a tool used to mark a specific distance from the edge of a workpiece. It's useful for making parallel or perpendicular lines to the edge of the workpiece, and it's also used to mark the depth of cuts. Note: it's important to use an accurate marking gauge to ensure that the lines you mark are precise and that the depth of cuts are accurate. Important fact: these tools ensure that cuts are square, angles are precise, and that lines and depths of cuts are accurate. They are essential for good layout, design, and joinery work. Cutting wood is a critical step in woodworking as it shapes and sizes the wood pieces to fit the desired project specifications. The selection of the right saw for the job is essential as it can affect the final outcome of the project. Each saw has its own capabilities and is suited for different types of cuts. Hand saws are the traditional type of saw used in woodworking and are suitable for making rough cuts and shaping wood pieces by hand. They are available in different sizes and designs and are suitable for cutting a wide range of materials, including wood, plastic, and metal. Circular saws are another popular saw used in woodworking. They are ideal for making straight cuts and are suitable for cutting large pieces of wood. They are also useful for cutting sheet materials such as plywood and MDF. Jigsaws are versatile saws that are suitable for making curved cuts and cutting intricate shapes. They are also suitable for cutting thin materials like plywood, laminates, and MDF. Table saws are heavy-duty saws that are suitable for making precise cuts and are ideal for cutting large pieces of wood. They are equipped with a large flat table and a powerful motor, which makes them ideal for cutting large pieces of wood to size. Note: sharpening the blade is an important step in ensuring precise and accurate cuts. A dull blade can cause rough and uneven cuts, which can make the final product look unprofessional. Additionally, a sharp blade is also safer to use as it is less likely to bind or kick back, which can cause injury. Note: properly adjusting the blade can also help to prevent mistakes by ensuring that the blade is at the correct height and angle for the specific cut. Overall, cutting is an essential part of woodworking and requires the use of the right saw for the job and a sharp, properly adjusted blade to ensure precise and accurate cuts. Important tip: measuring twice and cutting once is an effective technique for avoiding mistakes. Sanding wood is a crucial step in any woodworking project as it helps to smooth out rough edges, ridges and other imperfections in the wood surface. Note: the goal of sanding wood is to make the surface as smooth as possible, which can be achieved by using different grits of sandpaper. The grit of sandpaper refers to the size of the abrasive particles on the paper. The lower the grit number, the larger the particles and the rougher the sandpaper. A higher grit number indicates smaller particles and a finer sandpaper. Tip: starting with a rough grit sandpaper, such as 60 or 80 grit, is a good idea as it removes large imperfections and levels out the wood surface quickly. After that, you can move on to a medium grit, such as 120 or 150 grit, to continue removing any remaining roughness and to start refining the surface. Finally, using a fine grit sandpaper, such as 220 or 320 grit, will give the wood a smooth finish. It's also important to note that the type of wood you are working with may affect the grits you choose to use. Note: Harder woods may require a higher grit to achieve the same level of smoothness as a softer wood. Ultimately, sanding is a process that takes time and patience, but it is well worth the effort to achieve a smooth and professional finish on your project. Finally, it's time to finish your wood. This is the last step in the woodworking process, and it's important to do it correctly to ensure the longevity and durability of your project. There are several types of finishes that you can use, such as staining, painting, and varnishing. Each finish has its own unique properties, and it's important to use the right one for your project. Staining is a great way to bring out the natural beauty of the wood. It's a liquid that is applied to the surface of the wood, and it penetrates the fibers to change the color of the wood. Note: when choosing a stain, it's important to consider the type of wood you are working with and the color you want to achieve. It's also important to apply the stain in several thin, even coats, and to use a clean cloth to wipe off any excess. Painting is another option for finishing your wood. It's a great way to add a pop of color and to protect the wood from the elements. Note: when choosing paint, it's important to consider the type of wood you are working with, the environment it will be in, and the type of finish you want to achieve. It's also important to use a good quality paint brush and to apply the paint in several thin, even coats. Varnishing is a great way to protect the wood and to enhance the natural beauty of the wood. Varnish is a clear, protective finish that is applied to the surface of the wood. It creates a hard, durable surface that is resistant to water and other elements. Note: when choosing a varnish, it's important to consider the type of wood you are working with, the environment it will be in, and the type of finish you want to achieve. It's also important to use a good quality brush and to apply the varnish in several thin, even coats. Note: before applying any finish, make sure to clean the surface of the wood thoroughly and let it dry completely. It's also important that once the finish is applied, let it dry according to the manufacturer's instructions before using or displaying the finished project. And that concludes our episode on basic woodworking techniques. Note: remember, proper measurement and cutting, sanding, and finishing are the keys to building a successful woodworking project. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more woodworking tips and techniques. In the next episode, we'll be discussing basic joinery techniques, such as butt joints, dovetails, and mortise and tenon joints, so stay tuned. See you next time.